With the story of a Georgia mother who could face up to 3 years behind bars after someone else killed her 4-year-old son in a hit-and-run accident, in part because she was involved with jaywalking. We'll be talking to her exclusively in a moment, but first, NBC's Tan Trong has her story.
The roadside memorial for little A.J. Nelson is gone. No trace of the horrific hit-and-run that killed the 4-year-old boy and injured his mother. But neighbors remember it vividly.
It's just a real horrible situation. I'm just hoping that, everything, she'll pull through it and make the best out of it.
It was spring last year. Raquel Nelson and her 3 children just stepped off the bus at the stop in Marietta, Georgia. There was no crosswalk, but the family moved ahead, trying to make it across 4 lanes to get home, until a van rolled towards them, striking them in the street. Witnesses said they didn't have a chance.
A tan SUV or a van turned on its bright lights and just sped up the street. And he hit the little boy, and the little boy flew up in the air.
A.J. died. His mother and sister suffered minor injuries. The only child unharmed was A.J.'s 6-year-old sister. The driver never stopped to help, but authorities eventually caught this man, Jerry Guy. His lawyers said at the time Guy admitted to drinking alcohol earlier that day, was on pain medication, and is partially blind in one eye. Jerry Guy pleaded guilty to 1 charge of hit and run, served 6 months in prison, and was released last year. He's now on probation. This isn't the first offense for him. He's had 2 prior convictions for hit and run. AJ's mom was also convicted. She now faces a possible sentence of 3 years in prison for second-degree vehicular homicide, reckless conduct, and failure to use a crosswalk, something that doesn't settle well with some local parents.
It is her fault and it is his fault, but at the same time, she's suffered such a great loss, so I just don't see what putting her in prison is going to do.
One legal expert says in cases like these, fairness sometimes takes a backseat to the law.
Miss Nelson was shown no sympathy whatsoever by the system. This will live with her forever.
What took place here took only a matter of seconds, but for one family, the horror will last much longer. For today, Tan Trong, NBC News, Marietta, Georgia.
Raquel Nelson is with us now exclusively along with her aunt Loretta Williams. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Raquel, you want to tell people, why didn't you use the crosswalk?
Well, in this frame here, you can see where I stay at on a busy street, where I stayed at, the crosswalk. I think they determined it was 0.3 of a mile. And even then, coming home, you had to cross another side street, which is very dark in itself, to get home. And I was trying to hurry up and get home, so we didn't have to be in the dark.
And now, with this situation being as it is, your reaction to the driver getting 6 months, serving 6 months, and now being on 5 years probation?
I've had, like I said, to accept that he's gotten 6 months. There's nothing I can do about it, and even though he has had a history of it, I know nobody gets up that day and says that I'm going to kill a 4-year-old. So I've had to forgive that portion of it. However, I think to come after me so much harder than they did him, like I said, it's a slap in the face, as this will never end for me.
You face 3 years?
I could.
And what would that mean to you to face 3 years?
It's 3 years away from the 2 that I have left, and the part of him that stays alive with me to a degree, other than remembering him. So that's the worst part for me, is just separation from my other 2.
Do you feel that the jury treated you fairly?
I don't think they could relate to what I was going through. And I think that there was a lot of evidence that wasn't, I can't say allowed to be presented, but it went very fast. And many of the jurors, actually all of the jurors, they've all stated they've never ridden public transportation. and they've never really been in my shoes. So I think there was maybe not a jury of peers, if that's what the statement is.
When you say in your shoes, what do you mean by being in your shoes?
Well, as I said, they've all mentioned that they've never had to ride public transportation or walk down a busy street. I'm sure they've had children, but most of them probably weren't single mothers either.
You are hoping that the judge here is what you call a hero.
Yes.
Why?
Because I understand that she had to do her job. She can only judge the evidence and the things that are brought before her. We are just hoping as a family that she is compassionate and let my niece remain with her other children, because she needs to be with her other children. She hasn't really had a chance to grieve yet, and I believe she needs to be able to continue with her life with my other nieces.
This accident happened more than a year ago. You've not had a chance to grieve?
In my own ways, it's been harder, because of the situation. Because it made me have to hold up just behind all the pressure of knowing that, I possibly could not be with my other two children.
Do you relive that moment constantly, or are you able to put it behind you the moment you cross the street?
You're always going to relive it. You're always going to relive the moment, and I guess it's hard to explain if you've never been through something like that, but you're always going to relive it. It may not be every second, and then you're going to have to find times where you cannot let it dictate what's going on, as far as if I'm at work, it kind of takes my mind off of it, and I kind of had to push it away.
Is there anything you want to say about your 4-year-old boy?
Other than the fact that I miss him a whole lot, and I think my other two daughters are the reason that I've even been able to survive the situation. It's given me something to move on for. I don't think I could have without my other two.
Okay, Raquel, thank you for talking to us. Thank you. Thank you, Loretta, for being here as well to support Raquel. Thank you so much. And we're back right after.